Hello, my name is Ryan and this is Ryan's Reads. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my April and May wrap up. Notice I didn't say reading wrap up, I said wrap up because I watched over 20 movies within the last 2 months. I know, it's crazy to me too. I don't watch movies ever. I cannot sit still for 2+ hours. It just doesn't happen. It is not my cup of tea. I don't rewatch movies. I don't watch movies. It's just not my thing. But the past 2 months, I've discovered my love for Marvel movies, and that love hit so hard. And I've rewatched some of these movies. I watched a lot of them for the first time, some of them not, but now I decided I wanted to see Infinity War. I wanted to be in on the hype. So before I did that, I needed to see all other 19 movies. So, with that being said, I've only read 2 books within the past 2 months. I am in a very severe reading slump right now, and I honestly think it's because a multitude of reasons. One being I'm finally off from school, so I'm just taking my time to be lazy and just go out and be with my friends and watch movies, sleep, just be lazy. Like, I cannot do any of this in school. It's not a thing. So I take advantage of that time. I just like to take my time for myself during the summer, which is weird because a lot of people like to take time to read as much as humanly possible during the summer, but that's just not what I do, and that's okay. BookCon was just this past weekend. I miss it already, so I'm definitely going to be hopping into books like a lot more often. Now, with that being said, I also watched one entire TV series. So I'll be telling you all the movies I watched, all the books I read, and the one show I watched. The first movie I watched from the Marvel Universe was Captain America, the First Avenger, and I loved this movie so much. I cried. I loved it that much that I cried. I recommend it. I love it. I want you to all watch it. I want you to all cry with me and just love it like I do. The next movie I watched was Iron Man, the very first one, and again, this movie was just as good. I loved it just as much as Captain America. My heart goes out to Tony Stark. He's just the best. And then this one obviously was a 10 out of 10 as well. Next up, I watched The Incredible Hulk, and unfortunately, I did not like this movie pretty much at all. I didn't like the actor. I didn't like the actress that played the love interest. I don't even remember her name. It was just not my favorite. So I'm gonna give that 4 out of 10. After that, I watched Iron Man 2, and this one was not as good as the first one in my opinion, but still very good. So we'll give that one 8.5. Yeah, it's pretty solid. Next up, I watched Thor, aka the love of my life. So obviously he's a 10 out of 10. He's a 20 out of 10. Like, come on now. After that, I watched the first Avengers movie, and it was amazing. I loved seeing all the characters together. It just brought my heart so much joy, and it just made me so happy. There were other movies I enjoyed more than this one though. So I don't think it was totally a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Like, obviously it was still a great movie, but like not a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. So we'll give that one like a hot 9 out of 10. Next up was Iron Man 3, and despite everybody's hatred for this movie, I liked it just as much as the first one. So that is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I loved this movie. Why do people not like it? It's beyond me. Next up, I watched Thor: The Dark World, and this one was okay, not as great as the first one. I think they portrayed Jane's character as a little whiny in this one, so it's not my favorite, but Thor obviously is still 100%. So this one is a nice 7 out of 10. Next up, I watched Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and this is honestly like in my top 5 favorites out of all these movies. It was so good. I loved it so much, and it was obviously a 10 out of 10. Next, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy, and this movie was super funny. I loved the music. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. It made my heart so happy, and I love Chris Pratt, and I don't know who plays Gamora. I'll put it in here, but I loved her too. She's the best. And then Rocket, and then how could you not like Groot? And I love it. So good. That one was definitely a 10 out of 10. Next up, I watched Avengers: Age of Ultron, and this one was definitely not as good as the first one and did not live up to it at all, and it didn't even live up to some of the standalones in my opinion, so this one is definitely a hot 7 out of 10 for me. Next up is Ant-Man, and when I first watched this movie, I watched it with a bunch of people, and I don't really like watching movies with a bunch of people because then I feel the need to talk. Not my thing, but I did watch it with a bunch of people at school, and I don't know if that's what made me not like it that much, but I didn't like it that much. I'm gonna rewatch it though, but as of right now, it's not my favorite, and I'm gonna give that solid 6 out of 10. Next up is Captain America: Civil War. This is such an unpopular opinion in the Marvel universe, but I genuinely did not like this movie. Not for anything that the writers did or the actors did or any way the movie was portrayed. I mean, like, I'm not a critic in any way whatsoever. Like, these are just all based on like if my brain Ryan enjoyed these or not, but I didn't like this because I didn't like Steve and Tony fighting the entire movie. It made me sad. It made my heart actually sad seeing them not just be friends and not talk to each other. So I don't like this movie. And I mean, obviously we meet Spider-Man in this movie, so it definitely holds a nice little spot in my heart because of that. But otherwise, I don't like it because it makes me sad. Literally, it just makes me sad, so I don't like it. And so for that reason, this movie is a nice 6 out of 10 for me. Next up is Doctor Strange, and I actually really thought I liked this movie at first, but then I rewatched it, and I couldn't really rewatch it. I didn't pay attention to it, and that usually means I don't like a movie too much. Based off of both viewing experiences, I'm gonna give this movie a nice 8 out of 10. After that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and I liked this movie. Not loved it. I did like it a lot. I liked seeing our characters again. I loved seeing Baby Groot, but I just enjoyed the plot line a lot more from the first movie. So this one is a nice 7 out of 10 for me. After that, we have Spider-Man Homecoming, and Spider-Man Homecoming makes my heart so happy. Honestly, tied for favorite between Captain America the First Avenger, Thor Ragnarok, and, you know, this. And I just love this movie so much. I love Spider-Man. I love Peter Parker. I've always loved the Spider-Man movies, but Marvel really outdid themselves with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Again, obviously 10 out of 10. After that, we have Thor Ragnarok, and again, this is honestly, I don't want to say my favorite because it does hop between those 3 movies, but oh my god, I love this movie so much. I've rewatched it so many times since seeing it for the first time 2 months ago, and obviously that is a 20,000 out of 10. And from Thor Ragnarok, we have Black Panther, and I watched Black Panther first, so I flip-flopped those, but it's fine. Black Panther I watched in the movies. It just touched my heart. It was such a good story, and I loved it. I really hope they're doing a second one. I think they are. And then obviously that is a 10 out of 10 again. And then lastly, out of all the Marvel movies I watched Infinity War next, and Infinity War tore my heart out of my body, and not only that, but my soul as well. That movie was a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I'm saying it because I genuinely didn't enjoy following that many people as like main characters. They had over like 40 main characters or something like that. It was actually really crazy. So not really with it. That tapping is my dog, just by the way. So many movies! Oh my god. I don't know how I watched them all. I don't know how I rewatched some of them. I loved them. It was a good time. The first book that I read during the month of April was Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and I really enjoyed this book. It really touched my heart, and I think now contemporaries are starting to write a lot more from a fangirl point of view. I think it outdid a lot of fangirl books in that perspective, but also this book was really unique because she was not just a fangirl, she was a creator, and she created content, and people were fangirls for her. These kinds of books are so far and few between. They're really far apart, and honestly the only book I've ever read like this is Tash Hart's Tolstoy, and that book has my heart too. This book is no different. It's definitely 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it with all of my heart. It made me so happy, and if you haven't picked it up yet, you definitely should read it. And the last book I read in the past 2 months was City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare, and obviously it is the 4th book in the TMI series, so I can't tell you exactly what it's about, but obviously 5 out of 5 stars. It was a reread, and I loved it just as much this time around as I did the first time I read it. Lastly, for my April and May wrap up, I watched New Girl. I love New Girl. This is probably my 4th time rewatching the series. Oh my goodness. I loved it so much, but I cannot follow sitcoms on the TV and watch 1 episode a week. So I watched New Girl when it comes on Netflix, and season 5, I believe, came on Netflix in the month of April. So I really was so happy. I rewatched the entire series. I loved it so much, made my heart so happy. And how do you rate a show? A 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 5 stars? We'll do a 10 out of 10 for this. But obviously, New Girl is just so good and so funny, and I just can't recommend it enough. Please watch New Girl. I love it. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I read in the past 2 months, and all the movies, and all the shows, and just all the everything. Everything. And I loved everything that I watched and read this month. It was amazing, and I'm hoping to have a better reading month this June, considering BookCon just passed and I'm feeling a little more hyped up to want to read. Hopefully I'll get to stick to my TBR that I have gone so far astray from in the past 2 months. It's actually horrendous. It's fine. It's not, but it's fine. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Ryan. This was Ryan's Reads, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye. Bye.